time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview, and I'm really excited about the races we have to talk about this weekend. We have our friend Angela Hermann from Canterbury Park joining us when Canterbury has a week off, but Angela, we had to put you to work this week, even though it was some time off for you. How's everything going over at Canterbury?
It's kind of a convenient week to have a week off. Of course, not really much rest with the Ram Trucks Rodeo. That's going to be popular at Canterbury. But with, Del Mar opening up with a lot of stakes going on this weekend, there was a bit of a lull in the action. And it's a good time to be able to focus on it and really dig into it when it starts up. And even though, there's some smaller fields along the way, holy cow, have some of the stars come out to play in these races.
Yeah, we have a real treat for all of you SportsGrid fans this weekend. We're going to preview the Haskell, the Grade 1 Haskell over at Monmouth Park. We'll get to talk about journalism, the Preakness winner who was in all three legs of the Triple Crown. Then we'll get over to Saratoga. We're going to talk about the CCA Oaks, the Coaching Club of American Oaks, which is a really good race. It's a competitive race for 3-year-old fillies. And then we'll dive into Del Mar. It's opening weekend at Del Mar out here. West Coast, best coast. Always got to throw that in there anytime I can. And we'll be able to preview what's going on at Del Mar. So, Angela, before we dive into the racing action at Monmouth Park, we just want to let everybody know Daily Racing Form has a new product that we're really excited about. It's DRF AI. And I think for this audience, it's a really nice product because you can ask it any questions you want about the racetrack, about racing. It'll help you. You don't have to feel like, I don't know this. I might sound weird asking. For a lot of people, racing can be a little intimidating. I think this is going to be a really big help for them. And you and I, comes off of a win at Monmouth. That's one of the positives for him. He won one of the local prep races, which is the Pegasus, and he's proven at Monmouth Park. That was a career best effort for him, but it was on a sloppy track. So we probably want to take that into account and maybe upgrade him if it's wet and if it's raining out there this weekend.
Well, yeah, you have to start with looking at the history of the Pegasus, and it has been a traditional prep for this race. And some big names have won it. Verrazano used it as a springboard, won at Mandaloun in more recent times. Even some horses that ran second, Maximum Security, King's Barnes, Domestic Product. They've all been some big, heavy hitters that have gone on and used that race, no matter where they've gone, to have success. I just, the race wasn't run quite as quickly as it was in some of those heats, and you just didn't see the big names, even though the numbers jumped off the page. Some of that is, of course, linked to the track conditions. So, as impressive as Bracket Buster was, the inside draw combined with the question of how he can take that game and put it right into this leads me a different direction. I used him in fourth, but I think the Bracket Buster is going to have all he wants on the front end.
Yeah, he's certainly moving in the right direction, but this is a tough group. He's going to face 3 or 4 others that are really nice and in good form right now. And one of them is right next door, journalism. He ran in all 3 of the Triple Crown races. And Angela, we just don't see horses doing that nowadays. Here he is most recently, and it just was a good effort here, finishing second. He just lost to a horse who was a little bit better than him in the Derby and in the Belmont. There's no shame in that. And I think he's definitely the horse they'll all have to beat in here.
Oh yeah, it's his record speaks for itself. They don't just dance every dance, but he's fired a good shot in every dance too. It's hard to get that kind of consistency and keep a 3-year-old going that good that long. But Mike McCarthy's got, all the chops to do it, and he's done it with journalism. He's made very good moves with him. I can't doubt it in the Haskell, given that it's right in his wheelhouse for his distance, for a surface where he drew. There's a lot to like about him, except for the price, as usual. But that seems to be a recurring theme with journalism.
And if you want to poke a hole, if you're someone who's the type that's looking to beat a favorite, you can probably look at him and say, okay, he did run in all 3 legs of the Triple Crown. Did that take something out of him? Are we still going to see that same journalism out there this weekend? I think that's a very valid angle if you're someone who's trying to take a shot against him. I wouldn't really look at the horse right next door to him, though, Angela, as a logical contender. Wild and Crazy Night. He's stakes place, but he does seem a little bit overmatched against this group. He's a New Jersey bred, and he's won at Monmouth Park, so he's a local horse that they want to take a shot with.
Already overachiever by
Yep.
that rating, and Wild and Crazy Night. Where else are you going to go with them? You got to take shots in these spots when they're right in your backyard. So I don't blame them for doing it. It's just that if you're going to make up that much ground on Bracket Buster and then go against the Preakness winner and go against Burnham Square, you're piling a lot onto a horse that has work to do already. So trying to beat them at their own game, which is what I would think on paper he would have to do, I would take a stand against him.
Burnham Square is next up, and he has been one of the more solid horses in this age group for a lot of the year. You look at his last 4 or 5 races since the maiden win, the Holy Bull win, his Fountain of Youth fourth, looks a little bit better now on paper. He wins the Bluegrass, and then he had a bunch of trouble in the Kentucky Derby. He ran really well that day, Angela. He just was unlucky in a small field last time out in a race where there was no speed. It didn't set up for him. I think if you're trying to beat journalism from a quality standpoint, this guy has to be one of the major contenders here, Burnham Square.
I sat for almost an hour trying to formulate a way where he beats journalism on the square because I'm this horse's biggest fan. I followed him all spring. I picked him in just about every race. That's paid off once since. And he's showing that he can hang with East Avenue, but he hasn't proven that he can hang with everybody else. Consistent as they come, but I think the Burnham Square needs a little more to go his way than maybe journalism does. Journalism can make his own trip. Journalism fires every time. Burnham Square needs to put all the pieces together, and being up against journalism again, I don't know if this is the spot.
Yeah, the running styles would probably be the difference with why you would upgrade journalism a little bit over Burnham Square. You just feel like journalism can put himself in the race earlier, probably move a little bit earlier, and Burnham
Yeah.
Square is a horse who kind of has to hope that the pace sets up for him and they go really fast early. So, quality horse. We'll see if he can get the trip. National Law is the next one, Angela. We get Irad Ortiz Jr. to jump aboard. That's always a positive, one of the top riders in the world. But I don't know if National Law has shown quite enough yet in a spot like this to be considered a contender. We'll say that 2 of his 3 wins have come on fast dirt, so it seems like he's better on the fast dirt courses.
You would think. And I think maybe seeing some of who was in here and maybe who wasn't in here, maybe emboldened some connections that were well beaten in the Pegasus to hope for a dry track and take another shot. If they end up far behind journalism and maybe 1 or 2 others in here, they're not that separate from each other still. So getting a placing in a graded stake in a spot like this where you've run recently, I don't blame them. But I think the National Law is another one of those sorts that may not be in here if maybe 1 or 2 of the other shippers that will be highly regarded in other races came to this one. So National Law hasn't really established himself a running style either. So until those questions are answered, he deserves to be the big price he will be.
Yeah, tricky read. Gosker, though, is a grade 3 winner. He was second in the Preakness behind journalism, and we saw him show that he can be very close to journalism on the wire. He had about a 5-length lead after journalism got stuck in all that traffic down on the inside in the Preakness. What do you think about Gosker's chances in here in the Haskell?
Well, he did everything he was asked to do. That was only start number 3. Just without knowing his true identity yet, either the mile and an eighth mostly bothers me. Just the way that after journalism had all that trouble, if he was really meant to be in these kind of races and race against the cream, he should have held on. But
I agree.
journalism just put on a show that day. Take nothing away from Gosker. It's just that I thought that was more his opportunity than this one if he was going to pull an upset in this kind of race. So I would use him underneath.
Completely agree. He's moving in the right direction, but I think that was the race where you kind of wanted him. Next one up, Angela, is Kentucky Outlaw. And I like this guy as a horse overall, but this is just a tough spot. And he's a little bit quirky. Like, he's always slow out of the gate. He's his own worst enemy. Do you think he has a chance here against some of the big boys?
That's exactly what I was going to say. You can't do what he does at the start and give really good horses a head start when you're strapped with the outside post, when you already have speed on your inside. Now, if there wasn't much pace to his inside, I would say best position to be in, but there's already enough. So if he falls into a wide trip, if he does pull some of that quirky stuff and try to get in, try to cause some trouble, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Kentucky Outlaw has some impact on the beginning, but not at the end.
We round out the field with goal-oriented for trainer Bob Baffert, who knows how to win this race, and he knows how to win big races for 3-year-olds. Goal-oriented didn't run bad in the Preakness, Angela. He was 4th behind journalism in Gosker, and that was just his 3rd career start. So how do you think he fares in this race?
I just think that people left with a bad taste in their mouth because he was so overhyped. The horse is good, but I think he could fall into a similar trip as Kentucky Outlaw, and neither one of those is going to work for me.
Yeah, I'm just not quite sure how good he is as we round up the field for the Haskell. Angelo, how are you going to stack him up with selections here?
I stuck chalky on this one. If journalism fires his best, and that's all he's been doing, he is the best in this race. I will be using Burnham Square. That's my guy. I hope that one day he breaks through with the kind of race that'll beat this, but doing it at Monmouth and doing it against this particular field, I don't think is the day. So I'm going to use journalism with Burnham Square and Gosker in some tries and maybe hope that Bracket Buster holds on for a piece, but it looks like a fairly formful Haskell to me.
Same for me. 2, 6, 4, 8 journalism on top. We move to Saratoga after the break. Don't go anywhere.
think that there's a possibility that we could be looking at DeBoer wondering if he's the long-term answer at coach for the Tide?
I'm starting to feel like Alabama, I can't believe I'm saying this, Craig, is a sleeper. Fourth easiest schedule in the SEC this year. Ryan Williams is back. I think the friendly, these early season games against Florida State and Wisconsin, that is friendly for Alabama.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Paige Beckers, ready folks, is a top 10 WNBA player right now. You ever heard of the band Gladys Knight and the Pips? Yeah, it's Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings. That's what she's got. You know what that means? She's got nobody. Enrique Wumbuale has been awful this year. I don't know if she wants to play there or not.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Her ability to defend, shoot the three, rebound, pass the ball, and on a team that is awful. Awful. Right now, trending to get the #1 overall pick if they win the WNBA lottery. Possibly to draft her buddy AZ Fudd. Maybe. But when you look at Paige Beckers is a top 10 player in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Obviously, he didn't do great in the last two majors, and we're going home here. We're going to Northern Ireland, Royal Portage. This is Rory's the reason why we're going here. Got off to a rough start, throwing his tee shot out of bounds back in 2019. I think he'll be ready. Not yet ready to call him the winner. I still have a couple of days before I do that, but it is a home game for him. And as you saw, based on this weekend, he is playing well.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to the Daily Racing Form Weekend Preview. We're going to move from Haskell over at Monmouth Park to Saratoga. They have a big weekend coming up. Fingers crossed that the weather can stay cooperative over there. It's been rainy the last couple weeks. But, Angela, this isn't a grass race that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a really solid group of 6 in the Coaching Club American Oaks. These are 3-year-old fillies that are going a mile and an eighth. And while it's just a small field, I think you can make a case for a lot of different horses in here, especially when you get to a mile and an eighth. It's a little bit farther of a distance that might make it trickier for some of the speed horses. So let's meet the field here for the Grade 1 Coaching Club of American Oaks. This is race number 10 on Saturday at Saratoga. Immersive was actually the 2-year-old champion last year. It kind of shows you how loaded Brad Cox is as a trainer, because Good Cheer was the horse that we were all paying attention to this year as a 3-year-old filly, but he had another one who hadn't even raced this year up until Immersive showed back up on June the 14th. She ran really well that day, Angela. It was in the Monomoy Girl at Churchill Downs. She lost to Take Charge My Lady, who's also in this race. Immersive kind of ran like a horse that sort of needed the race. She was down on the inside. I didn't love the trip she got, but I will say at the top of the lane, she did seem like she was kind of on even terms with Take Charge My Lady, and she just did get out finished there. Because initially I was a little higher on Immersive when I looked at this race. Then I got a little bit colder because I thought she might have had every chance. So I'm going to end up picking her in the second spot. What do you think about Immersive here?
I guess that I watched the Monomoy Girl the same way that you did, where I thought that she was getting a little rank early. His feet were in the dashboard the whole way down the backside. But she and Take Charge Milady were never more than about a length or so away from each other. Even when Take Charge Milady got the jump on her, Immersive came right back when she got that opening on the inside. So I thought that kind of leveled it between those two. And yes, Take Charge Milady just outfinished her. And
So the race we're watching, not to interrupt, was the Breeders' Cup from last year, where Immersive
yeah,
was awesome. That was the
yeah.
end of last year. But the one that we were talking about was just the race at Churchill Down, and we were both a little like maybe wanting a bit more from it.
I understood that it was just her first effort back, but since you circled back to that juvenile fillies, I don't know if I was the only one, but after crossing the wire, I was really looking forward to some of the 3-year-old fillies that were going to be blooming in January and later to take on that particular field. And even from that race and from some other races that are in the history of these other fillies, they're not outbeating these graded stakes competitors. So I question what Immersive might have beat that day. And I question if she's going to turn the tables on Take Charge Milady. I don't think she does.
Yeah, has she stepped forward from last year to this year? We'll be able to find out on Saturday. Next one up is Sweet Seraphine. She's a long shot that I think has a little bit of a chance in here. So her career debut was back in August of 2024. She actually ran really well that day. She finished behind two next out winners, the two horses that beat her. She was off for a while. She shows back up in May of this year. She wins her first start off the bench, going a mile. And then in this race, she misses the break. Visually, the race doesn't look all that impressive, but I was actually surprised that she was still able to get up there. And I'm looking at the way the race sets up, Angela. I think you and I both think it may set up well with the horses that we're picking on top. I'm kind of curious if Scottish Lassie, if Dry Powder, and if Lacara, like three of these horses, may all kind of push each other. So I'm looking for the horses off the pace. That would be Immersive, Sweet Seraphine, and Take Charge My Lady. I think any of those three could get a good trip. I'm usually going to go for the biggest price of them and the one that I think has some upside and not too far behind some of these horses when you're comparing speed figures and stuff. So I tried to sell you a little bit on Sweet Seraphine. Did I do an okay job?
I get it as far as her being a good mile and an eighth horse in the future. It's just the fact that this is going to be her first go at two turns because she's done one turn miles thus far. And because she gives herself so much to do, if she's turning that much more of the time, I question her kick going that much longer. I would prefer to have a horse that's a touch closer than she is early. I think she's going to get left behind in the early fractions. And even though that'll enable her to save ground, I would just as soon take her maybe one or two starts in the future going this long.
And some very valid concerns for Angela. As someone who plays horses, like a horse like that, you hope that they're built into the price because you don't want to take a short price on a horse like Sweet Seraphine. Part of the whole thing is, yeah, hopefully she'll be a bigger price because she does have to show she can really compete with a horse like this and she can run her own race. So big spot for her as we move to Scottish Lassie, Angela. That's the number 3. She's a grade 1 winner. She won the Frizette last year. Hasn't really kind of put it all together or step forward since that race. She's just 1 for 5 overall. She was a tricky read for me in this race. What are you going to do with her?
No, she's had a couple of big figures, and they've been in grade one spots, but those are blips among the rest of the figures that would not cut the mustard against
Yep.
this group. And I mean, she wasn't a pricey purchase, and getting any kind of graded stakes on the page is even bigger for a filly than it is for a colt sometimes. And Scottish Lassie, I think, will be in the mix throughout, but she hasn't had as much of a forward move in her lately. So until she does, she's an underneath prospect.
There are 2 horses in this race that I think might be bettable from a wagering standpoint on Saturday if they're in like a 4-1 or above range. I think one of those is Take Charge My Lady because should get the type of trip I'm envisioning this race to kind of set up for, Angela. And when you go through Take Charge My Lady's recent form, she was going into the Kentucky Oaks not in the best of form. She had what is kind of comparable to a hangnail for a horse going into that race. And so there were like little things, not necessarily all the best. But coming out of that race, she ends up winning the Monomoy Girl, and she ran well. She beat Immersive that day. I think she's a really talented 3-year-old.
And she has the kind of race in her that can win this. It's just if some things go her way, but at least the draw went her way. I think that the pace might go her way. I think as long as she can hang in it, she can win another stretch duel. Now with Immersive, it might be, but she might have a couple of these to fend off. That'll be the question. But I still think that she'll handle this distance better than just about anybody. And with some sort of wide late looping move, you just know that she can do what she has been asked to do today with too many questions with other people. I just kept on coming back to her, and Take Charge Milady looks very strong in here to me.
The 2 outside horses in here, both are pretty fast early on, and they want to be part of the early lead. First one is Dry Powder, who's also going to be stepping up, Angela. That's why I'm a little bit concerned about her against this group. It's a tougher group, and there's other speed here.
And Dry Powder, give her credit for the battle that she put in last time. That was a really nice race on her part. I mean, I don't take anything away from the race that she put in. It took the entire stretch for Sweet Seraphine to run her down. It's just that how much different is it going to be today with Lacara on her outside, with even Scottish Lassie and Immersive on her inside? How much of a breather is she going to get? And given the extra ground, given the experience she gives away, she's another future prospect for me, if anything. I just don't think that she landed in a very fortuitous spot to use her speed.
And we'll round out the field with Lacara. Angela, let's just take a few seconds on her. She's a multiple grade 1 winner. I mean, we know what she's going to do, right? She's going right to the front.
I would think so, but being towards the outside, even if she has to fight for it for a little bit in second, I think that's less than ideal, but doable. Her best career races have come at Saratoga. She is my kind of horse, though. Just get out there and discourage the rest of them. I wanted to take her. I just don't think that she can get comfortable enough. I don't think anybody's going to get comfortable enough on the front end in the Oaks to take it all the way.
We're both looking for value in here. Angela's going to put the 4 on top. Take charge, my lady. I'm going with the 2, Sweet Seraphine. But you don't go anywhere. When you return, we'll be talking some Del Mar.
Oh, yeah. Time for the sprint. Let's go streaking here. Don't I mean streaking through the quad. I mean streaking in Major League Baseball, which is what the Boston Red Sox actually are doing right now, Tom. 9-11, 9-12 on the rotation.
You have to put some stock into them, especially with their hitters. What the Red Sox are doing, they're scoring runs early. They're scoring runs late. Doesn't matter if it's a walk-off. They're putting up runs consistently, hits consistently.
Pro Baseball Today. Only on SportsGrid.
How are you going to compete against a guy with 15 entries?
A lot of the guys that won Survivor at the Circa, because since I'm there every single year for contest weekend, one guy won it all with 1 entry. And the truth is, he told me that he maxed out his entries the next year because he had the money to do it, and it was a brain. It messed with his brain, right?
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
Aaron Judge is great, but if you want to talk about full contributions to a team, maybe I'm biased as a former catcher myself, but I think Cal Raleigh's working a little bit harder than everybody else, and I think Cal Raleigh should be right in this thing. If he sets that single season home run record for a catcher, I think that's probably what it's going to take for him to overtake Judge. I don't think it's impossible for him to get there. I think it's unlikely.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
For the final segment this week, we're going to head out west to Del Mar. It's opening weekend at Del Mar, but want to remind you again real quick about DRF AI. It is a great tool for all of you out there who need some help when you're playing the races. Maybe you're not sure about horse racing odds, or you want help with a particular race, or you have a question about things that we talk about here, like pace and what exactly that means. Check out DRF AI chat.drf.com. Ask it anything you need, and it'll help you out when you're playing the races. Angela, one more race for us to talk about. It's a fun one this weekend. We have one of the better horses from out west last year as a 2-year-old, Thought Process, leading the way in the San Clemente. We're going to take a look at the field here for Saturday's 9th race at Del Mar. Figured that that Thought Process would be the horse to beat. And I think we actually have a replay of Thought Process, the number 5, last time he ran. And what is so impressive, and I think why he's going to be really tough in here, Angela, he was winning this race after not having raced since November. So he was off like 7 months by the time this race came, and he's winning so impressively that you feel like second start back after that long layoff, he should be even better coming up this weekend. And I keep saying he, and it's a she, this 3-year-old filly. So apologies to Thought Process, but this 3-year-old filly and all these fillies, yeah, she probably doesn't really care, but she definitely is the one to beat in here. And even one extra thing, she's fast, but she can sit off a little bit if 1 or 2 other horses go. So she's not this one-dimensional horse.
And what a picture perfect time for that race to come about and for her to run like that, because every other horse in here has not run in a long time. I mean, they're all coming in with a little bit of rust on them. She is coming in the exact opposite fashion, and she's got a little something to run at. You know, she hadn't been the horse that led the way all the time. It was just like you and I talk about ad nauseum. If you got the best horse, put him on the front end. And that's what they've done with her. And she's won. But I think that she'll have Jungle Peace to run at. Anybody else that wants to go and try to steal the race on the front end is going to have to deal with her if she runs. And if they don't, they have to deal with thought process. So she can beat you in a number of ways. It looks like she's razor sharp. She drew very well. Hector Barrios knows her like the back of his hand. And she'll be a very short price in the process, but she's a fun horse to watch run. I can't wait to see where she'll take it when she leaves California again.
We have a replay of an important race when you're handicapping this race because it's the honeymoon, and there are 4 horses in here that come out of that honeymoon race. Actually, the top 4 finishers were all in there. The 3, Me So Fancy, finished second. As Catch Can, the 4, was fourth. We also see Jungle Peace in there and Frenzy Flavor. And Angela, they were only separated by a length. So when you have a field like this and horses are really close, it's kind of tricky to kind of pick one out of them because they all had different types of trips. You could probably make cases for all of them in different ways. I did think the horse who won that race, Frenzy Flavor, was pretty impressive in that race because it did go really, really wide in a small field. Well, what did you take out of that? And do you like any of the horses out of that race?
Well, and as you know, it's not easy to close on that turf course all the time, especially with that kind of trip, but she overcame all of that, and I do give her credit. I don't love races where horses finish as packs. It
Agreed.
just it doesn't really point out anybody as quality or lack of quality. Just everybody kind of ran the same race, and that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody taking a step forward, standing out. Otherwise, you get a very even board, but then you have to start playing the guessing game. And rather than doing that and seeing if somebody would get a hole through the inside, you can't guess that ahead of time. So
No.
I just took thought process, and I think that she can bludgeon this field if she runs her race.
One other horse I want to mention as we finish up is the number 1, Will Then. This is a horse who had won 3 races in a row, including a graded stakes race at Del Mar last year. And then she went over and faced a really tough group in the Edgewood, and one of the better horses in training for a lot of this year was Nitrogen. So I don't really hold it against her, Angela, that she finished 5th that day because she had a pretty wide trip in that race against a good group. And maybe the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th place finishers, any of them would probably be pretty logical contenders in here.
And I agree with that part. She didn't really make her presence felt. It's just that I don't know if she deserves to be bet the way that she's going to be off that kind of
That's the
effort.
key.
It would be anything prior that you would be betting her on. And if you're going to go on recent form, you can't help but look at that last race by thought process and think that she's really come back strong at age 3, and she is going to be double tough.
So for Angela, thought process is the one. I'll give Will Then a little bit of a look, but I need some price on Will Then if I'm going to be able to bet her in this race. And as we finish up, we say a big thank you to Angela Hermann for joining us. Angela, when are you going to be racing again back at Canterbury so we can follow along and check your analysis out?
We are going to start up again next week. Remember, the rodeo is going on this week, and then we'll start up next Wednesday. So come back and join us because we still got 4 days a week going. We got $2 Thursdays, $5 Wednesdays, all kinds of dog racing still going on, a little bit of everything. But it's all on our website, and that would be the place I would check to get everything up to date, CanterburyPark.com, including some nights where you can get free DRF PPs.
We'll have to get you back on the show with us again sometime soon, and we will see all of you next week. Make sure to head to drf.com for anything you need.
Here's a tip for my fellow golfers and gamers. Do you want to book a golf trip to Vegas? For the best weather, aim for spring and fall. But the best prices, aim for summer and winter. But if you're looking for that sweet spot, try June. You get the August prices without that scorching heat. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play. every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Has taken over. Let's go.